Controllers in NestJS. Controllers are responsible for handling request and returning response to the client. Here, client sent HTTP request and routing mechanism handles which controller receives the request. In our case, we have two controller, one is base controller and one is user controller. Routes with slash prefix goes to base controller and with slash user goes to user controller. Now, as you see, we have a controller already defined, which is app controller. Now, this one by default is pointing to slash. Now, let's go to Postman and check whether this endpoint is getting hit. So, our application is running on localhost 3000. Let's send. As you see, we get output hello world and the status is 200. So here we had a get decorator which is responsible for get endpoint, and we have a function called get hello which is returning the string hello world. Now let's create one more endpoint. This time let's use post decorator. Let's copy the same function, name it as create, and let's return a string create endpoint. Now let's test this in Postman. We will change this to post. I will send it. As you can see, it is returning us the string that is create endpoint and the status is 201 created. Now let's do one thing. Let's create a new controller and we will use NestCLI to create. So the command is nest generate CO for controller. Let's create a user controller. So as you can see, we have a user folder which contains the controller. Now this CLI do the thing like writing the boilerplate code for us, so we don't have to worry about this. And as you see here in controller, we have a string argument called as user, which basically means that our routes are pointing now to slash user. Let's create one get endpoint. Now here also we will return string only, get user endpoint. Now we need to import this from NestJS common, hit save, and let's go to Postman and test this. Change it to get, and as you can see, we are getting get user endpoint. Now this get decorator also accepts a string argument if you want to pass, like for example list. Now this will be pointing to slash user slash list. Let us check in Postman. Yeah, as you can see, we are getting get user endpoint once again. Let's quickly create a post endpoint. Let's remove this. Import it from NestJS common. Rename it to create user. Now, if you want request body, there is another decorator called body. Import it from NestJS common. Okay, it should be inside, not here. It should be inside the create user function. And now you can give it a name like request body. Let's pass a type where we require username. This should be string and age number. Now let's console whether we are able to receive. change it to post user. Let's go to body raw JSON. There we will send username as test user, age as 20. Yeah, let's change it to create. As you can see, okay, let me rerun once again. It is showing create user endpoint, and here you can see we are getting username and age. Similarly, if you want to make use of express request and response object, you can do that too. So here we can have a request decorator. You can give it an import request from assigned type of request, which is from express. And same for the response. We will have a response decorator. Let's import them from NestJS common. And again, type of response, which should be from express. Now let us console request directly. And instead of returning, we will use res.status 201.json message create user endpoint. Let's go to Postman. Once again, send. As you can see, we are getting a JSON object now, and the status is 201. Now, in Nest.js, this controller by default returns status of 200, and only in case of post, it returns 201. Let me show you an example. Suppose we will use a patch decorator now. And let me remove this and directly return update user. Now let's change this to patch. As you see, it is returning to 200 status. Now, in order to change this one, what you can do, you can add one more decorator called HTTP code, and you can send the status code which you want. For example, suppose I want to send 304. Let's check it out. So as you can see, it is returning 304 status. So like this way, if you want to modify the HTTP code, you can use the HTTP code decorator. Now, if you want a global prefix, what you can do, go to module, sorry, in main.ts file here. Suppose I want all of my endpoint to start with /API /v1. So we can do this also. So type add dot set global prefix. This is the function, and you can pass the string. So in my case, I want this one. So now if we go here, let's go to get request. As you see, it is telling cannot get because our route is different now. So it should be API /v1/user. Let me test it once again. Okay, it is /list. So let me add that. Yeah, as you can see, it is working now. Get user endpoint. So this is all about controllers. So they are mostly used for handling this incoming request and sending the response to the client. Next, we will learn about providers. See you in next video. Thank you.